Good morning, everyone. It is Velvet Dawn. For those of you that have been wondering where I've been for the last month, I am going to share to the best of my ability, as long as my body is going to cooperate with me. And I'm going to try and keep myself together as I share this with all of you. So normally I have hashtag Wisdom Weaver Wednesdays, and an important part of my life has always been to share experiences in my life in hopefully in helps to help other people. You know, those of you that know me, you know that that's my passion. And those of you that know me also know that I go mock a million. And this last month has been exactly that. So I really ask, and I ask that you respect this. I am going to share from a very vulnerable, neutral place. And I really ask that if you have any strong opinions or judgments, that you refrain from posting those on this video, please. I'm really asking that, you know, I'm going to open myself up to share, and hopefully my story can help someone else. So like I say, please check in with yourself if you want to, you know, give your judgment or your opinion. This is not the space to do so. Thank you for respecting that. So I want to start by just saying thank you to all of you who have supported me and continue to support me over, it'll be a month here coming up on April the 6th. Oh, thanks, Chrissy. Thank you so much. So my story, here we go. So on April 6th, many of you know, I turned 50. I love my birthdays. I'm always excited to celebrate them. And, you know, yes, it is a time where we can't celebrate the way we used to. I went for supper with family and friends, very tight circle, very small group. We followed all the guidelines. I am a person who does wear a mask, and I sanitize my hands. I have asthma, and I have had cardiac complications in the past, but they are cleared up. So we went for supper on my birthday, and the very next day, April 7th, I started to feel very, very ill. I knew something was very wrong. You can probably hear it in my chest now. It was unlike anything that I have ever experienced in my life. I've had pneumonia many times. I've had pulmonary emboli, but this was different. I knew that something was really different with my body. So I began to feel sick on April 7th. Immediately, I knew I needed to go and book a COVID test. Hi, Maureen. It's good to see you here. Hi, Juliana. Thank you, honey. Margarita. So I booked my test, and I couldn't get a test until Saturday. And during those few days, I began to start to understand, you know, a little bit about this COVID virus. So many of you that know me know that I'm a very spiritual person. You know that you definitely understand that I have both sides of the spectrum. You know, I definitely, you know, I've worked in a hospital for many years, and that is actually where I spent time recently. And then I also have the spiritual aspect. So my goal in my life is to fuse Eastern and Western medicine together and to really dissolve the labels that we put on things. And this is part of what I learned here. So on April 7th, like I said, I started to feel very ill. So what were my symptoms? I had a headache unlike anything I've ever had. Love you too, Nance. And the headache was constant. You know, it was around my head. I started to feel my chest was really heavy. I had a fever. I had no appetite. So I went for my COVID test. I went through a drive-through test. I drove myself through the drive-through. And I said to everyone, I'll be highly surprised if this is not positive, because I've never felt like this. And so I tested Saturday night at 8:30 p.m. and within, I think it was 14 hours, the results came back that it was positive. And I remember getting the text and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, it's positive. And it just hit me that this is real. And I have to be honest with you, I never thought I could get COVID. I never thought I could get it. And the reason being is because I was mindful. I was mindful. I also believed as a spiritual person that if I kept my vibration at a certain level, that I wouldn't get this. I do healing work. I know how this works. Guess what? All of my beliefs have been shattered to the point where I've had to go deeper. So for those of you that are on here and you are very spiritual and you're healers, I'm sharing from that perspective also, as well as the medical. So once on Sunday, when I got the positive results, things started to go downhill very rapidly for me. I ended up having tightness in my chest. I was feeling very unwell. And I ended up calling 811. I actually got into an argument with my brother. I love you, Glenn. Thank you for doing this. And he said to me, Dawn, you need to call 811. He said, I would rather have you, go to the hospital by ambulance and be okay than be stubborn and sit at home and tell yourself that you don't need help. So we got into a little bit of an argument on the phone. And sure enough, the 811 lady said, you need to hang up, ma'am, and you need to call 911. And I didn't want to. And I did. And so the paramedics came and we talked, and they, consulted a COVID doc, and they said, with your history, and with the COVID, which I'm going to share with some of you, some of the information I did not know, is that when you have COVID, it creates tiny emboli within your organs. And that's the dangerous part, is it creates blood clots. It can in your heart, in your lungs, in your organs. And that's what was beginning to happen to me. So I chose to go to a hospital in South Calgary, and I had a CT scan, and sure enough, the, microemboli were, beginning to show. So I was there, in South Health, and the doctor just came in, and I still actually have the bruises, from them trying to draw blood that day, because I was so dehydrated already at this point that they couldn't get blood out of me. And that's never happened. The doctor just came in and he said, your variant, we don't know which variant you have yet. It'll be here soon. He said, the only way you're going to be hospitalized is if you need oxygen or you need steroids. And he goes, and if we use steroids, it's kind of a last, measure. So we don't really want to do that route unless we have to. So the other thing I want to share is, in no way am I sharing medical advice. I am sharing my journey with COVID. And it's specifically from I am not a doctor. I used to work in a hospital in health information management, but I'm definitely not a doctor. So I came home at 4 a.m. in the morning myself. I took a cab and I came home. And I was by myself, and I started to realize, what is COVID? What is this going to do? And so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so Wednesday, things drastically went very poorly. And I'm actually going to share videos that I have done and photos of myself. And I look like absolute crap. And I don't care what I look like. It doesn't even matter. I had such pain that started in the back of my neck and it wrapped around my eye. They say the virus generally attacks the weakest part in your nervous system, which is what it did. I had trigeminal neuralgia and shingles. So it attacked sort of that area of my body. And the pain was, thank you, Tara. This is the first time that I've done my hair and worn makeup in almost a month. So thank you. So I'm trying to stay focused, but this COVID brain is hard. So what ended up happening is I stayed at home and I tried to treat myself. I tried to, luckily, my girlfriend Colleen is a nurse in the US, and as soon as she found out, she jumped right in and said, you need a pulse ox, a monitor at home, because for you need to be mindful. So I want to talk a little bit about this. There's a thing called silent hypoxia, which is why we've been seeing on the news that some people are dying, which is why I almost died. So silent hypoxia is basically, I have COVID pneumonia in my lower lobes, both lower lobes of my lungs. It's full completely of COVID pneumonia. And it's like glass. So, for those of you that have had pneumonia, which I have had, this is different. You can't actually get the oxygen moving through your lungs, and you basically suffocate because you can't get the oxygen, moving through your lungs. And if you're not watching your oxygen saturation, you just basically will succumb, right? And which I wasn't doing. So I had a headache. The only way that I could sleep is I'd fill the bathtub up and I would float in the bathtub, because those of you know that I love water. And I would lay in the bathtub in hopes that the pain would go away in my body. I had aches in my legs, in my uterus. I was bleeding from every orifice. So I knew something was very wrong. And, I was trying to medicate. I had some connection with my family doc. She's an amazing, amazing doc. And we were trying to manage, for me being home. And what ended up happening is I knew that I was really ill. I knew that there was a point. I knew that I was going to die. And so I got myself in the shower and I drove myself to an urgent care. And I walked in and I said, I have a positive COVID test. I have the UK variant. So I had the B117, which is one of the deadliest variants, and one of the most contagious, and one of the newest that they don't really know what to do with. So I went in and I told them, and the doctor that was there told me that I was dehydrated and I needed to manage my pain better. I'm very intuitive. I knew that this wasn't the case. I knew there was something really wrong that was being missed. So they ran a couple liters of saline, gave me some Tylenol and Advil, and sent me on my way. I came home, I threw everything up in the bathtub, everything that I had, IV'd in my body. I knew I was in trouble. I literally got myself into my bed and I slept with an ice pack on my head. I put it on there. I constantly had heat or ice. I couldn't manage the pain in my head. I had all my senses were overloaded, and you know what? I was scared to death. This is the most scared I've ever been in my entire life. I actually had called one of my friends, Nancy, and I said, can you just stay on the phone with me because I'm scared and don't talk. I just need you to listen to me. And she said, okay. And she did. She stayed on the phone for 2 hours with me while I laid in bed breathing, and I was crying, and I thought, I'm so scared and nobody can come in and help me because, I'm contagious. And I've been to the hospital or urgent care and they sent me home. And I was just like, what am I going to do? So I have some very, very dear friends as you are. And my one friend called me and she said to me, I think you should go to the hospital. And I said, I can't even get down my stairs. I have a dog. Many of you know. I have a 2-story house. I got to the top of the stairs and I sat there and I cried. I couldn't even go down the stairs to let my dog out. I couldn't move my body. And so as I sat there, I just thought, what am I going to do? I can't even move my body around my home. And so I did have a friend, Tanya came and she let my dog out. And then, like I said, my friend Fauna called me and she said, I think you need to go to the hospital. I think you need an ambulance. And I said, I can't even get down the stairs. I can't even muster the energy to do it. And she said to me, okay, we have a problem. So my other dear friend, Tracy, who I did the very first Wisdom Weaver as a respiratory tech, and she had come by. People were amazing, Bev and Nancy and Christina and Len and my friend Tanya. And, I don't want to leave anyone out. So if I do, I'm sorry, but people were leaving food at my door. And to be honest, I couldn't even eat. I didn't eat for 12 days. I couldn't eat anything. And anyway, I opened the door and my friend Tracy was there, and she took one look at me and she said, "Get your stuff. I'm taking you to the hospital now." And I was like, okay. And I remember grabbing my purse and a few things, and I left my dog here, and she put me in the back of her truck, and she had a mask and I did. And we drove. She said, "Where do you want to go?" And I said, "I need to go to the High River Hospital. That's where I used to work. I just knew that I needed to go there." And she took me, and of course, when you have COVID, you have to go in a different entrance, and they got a wheelchair, and they wheeled me into an isolation bed. And my headache was out of control. I've never felt anything like this. I was just holding my head, and I couldn't even cry anymore. And the nurse came in and they drew blood right away. And the thing that they did there is the thing that saved my life. When they drew my blood, they did a test called CRP, which is C-reactive protein. And that blood test actually shows, they're using it to monitor the COVID inflammation. And mine was 150, and normal is below 8. I understood now what was wrong. I also understood how critical I was. And I understood why I'd never experienced pain like this, because that number, 150, was showing the inflammation in all of my entire body, my organs, everything. And the doctor said, "You are not going home." She said, "You are very ill." And so they tried to control the pain with a bag of Toradol. It didn't even touch it. Not even touch the pain in my head. They asked me if they wanted me to call anyone. And I said, no, I've let everyone know that I need to. And so then they had given me like 2 or 3 rounds of morphine in my IV. And the last one barely touched the pain in my head. And I felt like I was so relieved now, because I felt like somebody was taking care of me, that somebody heard how much pain that I was in. And I was relieved, but at the same time, I was actually I know, Tara Lee's, "I can't believe your CRP was 150. I know. Thank you, Tara. I love you too. And so they said, "You're not going anywhere. You're actually going to go into isolation." And so Tracy laughed and she checked me in, and, I love you, Tracy. You're part of the reason that I'm still here. And they put me into an isolation room and immediately started doing the testing. And so what happened was, I'm trying to focus here. It's just hard. So ironically, I'm in the isolation room, and they just started giving me IV antibiotics. They did a chest x-ray. And I had an amazing nurse, like High River Hospital staff. I can never say, enough about them and how amazing they all are. And I was fighting to stay in High River. I did not want to be transferred, just because I worked there for so many years, and that's where my roots were at the beginning of my career. So they came in and they said, "Do you still have pain?" And I said yes. So the next option was steroids, which is what I was fearing the most. And so they gave me dexamethasone, and it took about 6 hours to fully work. And once the steroids kicked in, my pain started to decrease. So now I'm in isolation. I have the 4 walls. Every staff member that comes in to see me has to suit up. And you can hear them suiting up outside the room. They have these special attire that they have to zip and put on. And before they come in, they have to bring everything in with them. They can't leave and come out. And anyway, they came in, and the first night the doctor came in at midnight to see me, and he talked to me, and he said, to be honest with you, you have the new variant. And he goes, it's very, very new. And we're really trying to figure out how to treat it. And he goes, you're a 50-year-old healthy female. He goes, you shouldn't be this sick. Like, you really shouldn't. He said, I know you have asthma, but you should not be this sick. And so we talked, and that was Friday. And so Saturday, Sunday, things went sideways. And this is the moment where I thought I was going to quit fighting. The steroids had worn off, and everything came flooding back. And the video that I'll share here, you'll see, I was on oxygen. I was up to 4 liters, and I could hardly breathe. I remember them telling me that, you're in critical when you can only get one word out. And I was there. I remember I only could have one word. Only one word would come out, and I was gasping. And I will share the video so you can see how bad it was. And I remember just laying there thinking to myself, all that matters in the end is that we have compassion for each other. This other fucking bullshit that everybody's, pro-vaccine, not vaccine, this and that, it doesn't matter. What matters in the very end is that you have compassion. And what matters in the very end is you only have yourself. That's all you've got. You have yourself and your divine connection, whoever that may be for you. So people, the rest of this bullshit, let's stop it. Because you know what? It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. And I can tell you that because it didn't matter to me when I was laying there. What mattered to me was when the doctor came in and he said, Valvadon, I'm worried about you. I don't know what to do. He said, I don't know what to do. You can't be on any more oxygen and be here. And he said, how do you feel about ICU? And I said, I don't want to go to ICU. And he said, why? And I said, because I have been in CCU. I was there for a week at 44 years old. I saw the minister come in to a family in ICU and, read the last rites to that family. I knew in my soul that if I went to ICU and I was on life support, I knew that I wouldn't make it. I knew in my soul. And I knew that I was this close. And I said to him, is there not anything else that we can do? And he said, I don't know. Let me go talk to some of the doctors in the COVID unit. And so he left, and I sat there by myself. And I was already by myself, as you can imagine. And I thought to myself, it's just me. Like, how am I going to muster the strength to get in the ambulance by myself, knowing that I'm going to go to ICU by myself? I can't say goodbye to my girls. Like, I'm going to have to do this by myself, all by myself. And where am I going to get this strength from? And I didn't know where it was going to come from because I already knew that I was tired and I didn't want to fight anymore. And so I lay there, and you know what I wanted in the end? I wanted my mom. And for those of you that know, my life has been different since I got divorced. And I grew apart from my mom. And that's all I wanted in that moment was my mom. And sorry. I texted her and I said, Mom, I'm scared. I said, I don't think that I have the strength to fight anymore. And she said, you need to be calm and you need to do this. And I knew that I was at the point that I couldn't. I knew I couldn't. And she tried to talk me through it. And I said, I don't want to go to ICU. And she said to me, you have to let the doctors do what they need to do. And you have to trust them. And I said, okay. And then I had texted my youngest daughter and I told her, you know, this is very serious and you need to tell your sisters because I don't know what way this is going to go. And it's going sideways. This is going sideways. I have no control over my body and I don't know how this is going to end, but my feeling is not well. And I had that feeling right from the get-go. And so I was, you know, there was so many people texting me. I never told a lot of people. This is the first time that I'm sharing with a lot of you. So I apologize if this is the first time you're hearing this. When I was in that moment, the only, you know, I really kept in touch with my close family and my dad and his wife, Lynn, and my brother and a few friends and my mom. And that was really all I could do. So I apologize that I couldn't keep in touch with all of you, but I was literally, you know, fighting for my life. As I was laying there, the doctor came back and he said to me, okay, we're not really sure if this is, you know, gonna work because we don't know. We just don't know. And he said, so we're going to give it a go. We're going to give you a baby aspirin for 10 days and we're going to give you dexamethasone for 10 days. And then he was already giving me IV antibiotics as well as oral antibiotics. And I was having blood thinners injected. There was a lot going on. And I said, okay. And he said, just so you know, I'm giving you the IV antibiotics, not because you have bacterial pneumonia, but he goes, if you get it, you won't make it. And so that was all really hitting home for me, that this is how grave this was. And I thought to myself, okay. So I agreed to do the steroids and I just came off of them on Tuesday. And for those of you that have been on it, dexamethasone is very strong. When they talk about roid rage, it's real. But I knew that it was going to save my life and I had to do it. So I did that and still they were watching and waiting. And he said, you know, if this doesn't help, we are going to have to send you to ICU. So I knew there was that risk and I didn't want to go in a ventilator. I didn't want to go to that space. So what I do want to share with you is that, you know, in the end, it doesn't matter who I got it from. It doesn't matter where I got it from. What matters is that my accountability in this is that I should have been more careful. I shouldn't have went for supper that night, you know, for my birthday with just the few people I did. I should have stayed home. And now I am homebound even more. I can't, you know, go out. I'm not contagious anymore. I can't leave because my immune system, there is a chance of me getting one of the other variants right now. So I have to stay at home and protect myself from the external. So I think I'm going on day frickin' 30 something of isolation. So the steroids did help. It was a really rough go. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought a lot about my life. I thought this is another chance for you, Velvet Dawn, to really live the life that you want to live. No more bullshit. No more. And it was an opportunity. Oh, Nancy goes, yes, day 30. Yeah, thank you. So it's been a long haul. So for those of you that are upset because you're in isolation, please don't be. It's not the end of the world. You know, it's really not. And we need to be mindful because this is the freaking reality, people. This is the reality. And I'm going to try not to get mad. But it's like, I almost died. I never thought I could get this, but I almost died. And it is real. And it is spread from the mouth. That is how I got it. I I shared a mutual drink with someone. I just had a sip. It was shared through the saliva. It's shared through the droplets because I took my mask off. You do what you wish, but I'm sure as hell gonna wear a mask. And because I feel the effects in my lungs. It's all here. How can it not be transmitted out my mouth? I feel it. It's inside of me. The other thing that I want to address here is that, as a healer, sometimes I've had people say, well, you must have, let your energy down, you let your guard down, something, energetically attacked you. Bullshit. I agreed on some level that, I agreed to get this. I do. I always agree that everything happens in your life is because you agree to it. That's my philosophy. So I agree. I believe that I agreed to get this. I do everything, a million miles an hour. You guys know that, from being in CCU and almost dying from the blood clots to, having this. But what I do know is I didn't do anything wrong. This isn't karma. This isn't, because I let something happen that I don't believe that. My belief is that I need to go through this so that I can share with you my perception. And if I can help save somebody else's life, then I've done something for this. So, that's how it's changed for me. So, I was in hospital for 6 days and the doctor came in and like I said, he's amazing. He said to me, how are you doing mentally? And I said, not good. I said, now for sure, I'm at the end mentally. I said, I can't be in here anymore. And I said, so if I need to take an oxygen tank home, I'll do what I have to do, but mentally I'm losing it. And he said, okay. He said, the deal is though, you have to have an oxygen saturation. I should have brought it down here to show you, but it goes on my finger and it shows, I have to keep it above 90. Mine was as low as 78 when I went in, which is part of the signs of the silent hypoxia, right? Where your body isn't getting enough oxygen. And I was literally gray. And that's what Tracy told me later. She actually picked me up from the hospital and I got in the truck and she looked at me and she goes, don't ever do that again. And I said, what? And she goes, you scared the shit out of me, Dawn. She goes, when I got you in the back of my truck and I looked in my rearview mirror, you were gray. And she said, I thought I was going to lose you on the way to the hospital. And I said, I'm sorry. And she said, no. She goes, I'm so happy that you're better. And she's a respiratory tech and a dear friend of mine. And she did save my life. She was here. So I very happily came home. And the deal was that I had to not be alone. The doctor said, you cannot be by yourself because some of you have seen on the news that there was that dear man that died in his armchair in BC. And his wife found him because of that condition. It can turn quickly. So my dad drove and him and his wife Lynn came and they stayed with me for a week. We kept our distance. We kept our masks on. They're vaccinated and they literally had to take care of me. All I did for the last 3 weeks is breathe, check my oxygen, take my medication, shower if I had the energy. When I came home, I turned the shower on that day and I slid down on the floor and I cried my eyes out. And I thought, wow, what just happened to my life? A whole month has gone by. Last thing I knew, it was my birthday, and now it's the end of the month. And, I'm self-employed, so that's a tricky little thing for me too. And I just thought to myself, this is real people. This is real. This is not a hoax. What I felt in my body is unlike any pain I have ever felt, and I've never been so scared. It was a brush of death for me, which I know many of you have had. This is my second one. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I allowed my dad and Lynn to come nurture me. My mom has made me food. I have so many of you friends. Vicky, you're another one who, Vicky brought my prescriptions and vitamin C, and she's just been such a beautiful soul, as many of you have. And like I said, I'm sorry if I left any of you out. Janine was also very instrumental in helping. Everyone's afraid. We're all afraid. I get it. I was afraid. But in the end, have compassion. Please have compassion and be smart. This is contagious. It is real. I don't want to get angry about it, but I have to tell you that I almost died. So, and I'm a person. So whatever your beliefs are, don't project them onto someone else. Be mindful that, maybe your actions may, all I could think of is, oh my gosh, what if my dad and Lynn got sick? What if they got sick? I would feel horrible. And in my situation, there was 3 of us that tested positive with the UK strain. Some got sicker than others. I was the only one who ended up in hospital. So be mindful, people. Be mindful. Be mindful. I know we want to, exercise our rights and prove, but you know what? What if that's you? What if you were me? What if you got sick and you were laying there wondering, like, what if? And so that's why I share this with you. I had a big talk with my doctor, and I just said to her, she said, wow, what happened? And I said, how did this happen? Right. And it, I had gone a whole year without getting sick. And then boom, I get one of the newest variants that they don't know what to do with. And today is a good day. I have all my cough candies lined up here, and I actually haven't coughed my lungs out talking to you, which was one of my biggest fears other than crying my eyes out here. So there's many things. Learn about silent hypoxia. Google it. Look it up. Google the CRP. If you think you have symptoms and you're going in, ask them to test that in your blood. That will be an indicator, if you have that inflammatory response going on inside your body. Listen to your body. I knew that I was very ill when I went out on the Wednesday and they sent me home, and I knew I was sick. I should have been admitted right from that moment. I know that if Tracy hadn't picked me up, I would have died in my bed. I know that for sure. I was at the point where I was succumbing to everything. And what mattered in the end, like I said to all of you, is my connection to Source. Because I had no one else. I had an amazing, doctor and medical team, but because I was isolated, I had nothing. Being on the phone and talking to someone is not the same as actually having them hold your hand. So I feel for all of those people who have died alone. I feel for them. I feel for all of those who are suffering alone. I feel for all of the healthcare workers. It's hard for me to go on social media and to see some of the stuff now that this has happened to me. I gotta tell you, it's hard. People are like, why are the hospital staff not on here? Because they're freaking saving people's lives. And mine was one of them. They're risking their lives to come in and take my oxygen and to bring my meds in and to hook up my IV. That's what they're freaking doing. They're doing their job, and they're burnt out and they're tired. And I know you're all burnt out, and I know you're all tired from isolating and wearing a mask. But you know what? It wasn't very convenient for me to have an oxygen mask, to have those prongs in my nose, to be blowing blood clots out my nose, to be taking an IV pole and an oxygen tank to go to the bathroom, to be bleeding from everywhere. That wasn't my idea. Yeah, it was inconvenient. So I plead with you, if you can do what you can do, stay home, wear your mask. If you choose to get vaccinated, do what you need to do. Don't judge anybody for their choices. Truly don't. Because you know what? It's only your life, and in the end, you've only got you. That's all that's going to be with you in the end. So my road to recovery is long. This pneumonia is going to last, which once again is COVID pneumonia. So no antibiotics are going to clear it up. It is me resting, drinking lots of water, moving the fluids out of my body. It's going to be 2.5, 3 months. Yeah, long haul. And that is just the pneumonia part. The COVID brain, figuring out if I had the viral encephalitis, all of that is still sort of in play to see how I do. It's not easy. So I'm not on here sharing to be a victim. I am sharing to bring awareness to the fact that COVID is real. It's not a hoax. And we need to quit judging each other, and we need to quit labeling people for their choices. But I do plead with you, please be smart, because I got sick and I almost died. So I thank all of you for your prayers. I had so many people messaging me and saying, I'm praying for you, and thank you. Like, thank you from the bottom of my heart for praying for me and, putting me in your thoughts. I know some of you are on here and you've had COVID. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you. It is very serious, and that's why I'm sharing. So once again, I ask, please don't leave any nasty comments or judgments here. Leave them elsewhere. This is a place of my truth and my own experience, and it's changed my life. I'm going to make some big changes in my life, and I'm going to live my life for me. So once again, thank you. Thank you, Tara. Tara's like, oh, I guess I should get a vaccine. Then I was on the fence. Honey, you know what? You'll know what to do. I knew what to do when I got sick. I knew exactly what to do. Hey, Cheryl, thank you. Thank you, Cheryl. Hi, Lori. Thank you. Hey, Tara. Thank you. Emily Ann. Thanks, hun, for all of your meditations at night. That's all I did in the hospital bed was meditate, and they were the ones you sent me. So thank you, honey. I love you. Thank you, Patty, for your support and your friendship. It is very real, Maureen. It is very, very real. And, my doctor actually said to me, and so did the ER doc, they said, are you going to share your experience? And the ER doc said, I Googled you. I hope that's okay. And I said, absolutely, it's okay. Thanks, Corinne. Thank you. I said, absolutely, I'm going to share because I went through this for a reason. So if I can share and I can help anybody else, I know many of you know people that have had COVID. Some people will say, oh, I just had a headache. I just had a cold. Absolutely. But like I said, I'm 50 and I'm healthy, and I got this sick and almost died. I'm pretty sure like I'm out of the woods now is what they're saying. But April 7th to what is today, May 3rd, this is the first time that I've actually felt somewhat normal. Jennifer, we need to share. Yeah, I know, honey. I thank you for your sharing with me too. So there you have it. I leave you with hopefully something to think about. I hope that I leave you with compassion. I really pray that people have compassion. This is the real deal, and we need to push aside our manipulation and our need to control what we feel is right. Let's stop, okay? And let's just love each other and be safe. So, like I said, I'm going to be sharing some videos, and they're going to be very raw. Some of you are going to be like, oh, because, I've got the oxygen in my nose, and it's pretty grueling. And I'm going to be real with you and share them. And if any of you want to share this video, please do. I'm going to make it public. I really feel like we've reached this point where we need to learn something from each other, and love is all that matters in the end. I'm not a woo-woo, whatever. I've got the medical background and the Eastern background, but we need to wake up, people. Okay, we need to realize. Love you too, Patty. Thank you. Juliana, continued healing. Thanks, Juliana. Thank you, Carla. And Bev, thank you for everything. Bev and I were in the hospital in different locations at times. You were such a sweetie, and I love you dearly. Thank you for all that you've done, Bev, and I hope that you're feeling better too. Thank you, Maureen. Thank you. And thank you truly to everybody. I'm grateful. So I leave you with that. Take care of yourself. Follow your gut. Please have compassion. And really, Vicky says lots of love. Thank you for being brave and courageous and sharing your experience. I think we need more shares like this. You are so right. Compassion needed all around. So happy to see you coming out of the other side. I know. Thanks. Thank you, my friend. I love you. Thank you, Nancy. Love you too. It's where we're at. You know, it's real, people. So, oh, Cheryl, I want to mention that. So Cheryl, Leah goes, no, go rest. You are the other person now. Okay, so Leah took care of my dog, and I want to share this with you, Leah. I don't know if you know this. On the Sunday when I was crashing, I got a text from Leah. She's a dear friend of mine that I've had my whole life. And she sent me a text. And she said, basically, the wording is going to be she said, damn it, woman, get your head out of your ass and get meditating. You're the strongest woman I know. Quit worrying about the rest of this. You need to fight for your life. And when I read your text, Leah, I got mad and I was like, I don't want to fight for my life. And then I went, she's right. So thank you for that. I just want you to know that I love you. And your text really clicked in my head that day. And thank you for cleaning my house and taking my garbage out and for watching my dog and for loving me and being part of my life. I love you. Thank you. Anyway, I want to address this quick and then I'm done. So this picture actually came up a lot in my meditation. And this is my belief, is that we come from that divine spark and then we go around and we go back to it. And during my moments, you know, in the hospital bed, I was thinking of this image, Cheryl, and I was thinking of, you know, I got to get back to the bridge, because I was sort of deciding, you know, what was going to happen if my physical body and my spirit were going to unite, or if this was going to be the exit point. So that picture behind me means a lot to me. So I'm not going to keep you guys any longer. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for loving me. I love all of you. And I'm truly grateful for all the healing and the prayers. I'm going to take the summer on my board. Patty and I are going to be cruising around out on the lakes, and I'm going to get my physical strength back. So I love all of you. Thank you for all that you have done. And just please share and bring awareness to whatever is best for you. Thank you. Love you. Bye.